Welcome, listener, to Dell's Gaming Radio Theater. Today, our second session in our series, Deliadese in the Desert.
Shanghaied to foreign shores, enslaved and forced to fight for his life. The adventurer Deliadese now finds himself a free man, marooned amid a den of thieves. So, when last we left off, you had just bought your freedom by a stranger named Blind Jim, who apparently bet a obscene amount of gold on your victory.
Mm-hmm.
He's led you out of the pits, and this is quite literally as you've just had this conversation with him. This is your first time drawing breath as a free man in almost a year. You know, you're still in your soiled slave garments, you know. You still have blood from combat still on your hands, you know. But as you step outside and you look around, you realize you have no shackles. Blind Jim is shuffling down the sandy streets of these adobe mud walled buildings. You see the same sights that you saw when you were being led between the ship and to the slave pits and to the fighting arena. There's open slave markets, but there's also more regular stalls. There's people that are selling bread, trinkets, baubles, odds and ends, carpets. And as he is leading you to where he told you that he's going to be, where he's staying, you kind of leave the seedier part, and you know it's all pretty like seedy. This is a real, you know, basically outskirts pirate settlement. But you see more people that are like dealing in regular goods. You see that there's a tavern, but you guys walk by it. I should also say it's probably about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Is the approximate time of day. So you see people that are like kind of coming and going between buildings. People are wearing very lots of clothing that like covers the skin but is very light and breathable. You know, there's people that are in more black and, you know, roguelike clothing. But you also see some really bright colors. People that seem to be wearing, you know, finer clothes. Though they look like they are travelers as well. That are also, like, mixed in here.
Very interesting.
And eventually he comes to a rather modest-looking building. It's a single story. When he comes to it, he raps on the door, and he goes, "Come on, Raspy. It's old Jim. You can open up now." And there's like kind of some sounds of like shuffling from inside, and a figure in a loose robe opens the door, kind of blearily, and he looks around and he goes, "Yeah, Jim, is that you? Yeah, Jim. Oh, what do you? I thought you were leaving town." He goes, "Not just yet, Raspy. Not just yet. Looks like I got a set of hands here, and I think we're gonna need another day or two to ration up, so to speak. That is, if he's interested in the work." And Jim kind of like looks over his shoulder at you.
What work? Absolutely.
Jim nods his head, shoulders past the figure in the doorway. And I should say he's a human, but at least very humanoid looking, but his skin has like a peculiar purple tint, but otherwise looks like a normal human being.
Oh, okay. I'd like to greet Raspy.
The first thing you notice is that it's all just basically one big room, and almost half of all the walls are just covered in books. And they look like all kinds. There's some scrolls like piled in a corner. All manners of books in a rather large desk that has several like stacks on top of it.
What kind of books? Like information books, or like they could be, or like story books.
So with a 20, and if you're interested in the books, you kind of, and at first it's just a jumble, but you start to like look at the titles on one wall, and it seems that these are all arcane texts. You see the title of one that like open, leaning up against the bookshelf, as though someone were standing up against it, reading. And the title of this one is Extra Dimensional Spaces and You, the Conjurer's Arts Unveiled.
So the magic books.
Yeah, you look around to the other side and you see that there's more historic works, detailing. They include things like the journals of different generals from different times in history. There's books on logistics. It seems to be like a rather large library, but you see, like, as far as like genres go, there's one wall in like particular that seems to be almost entirely books pertaining to the arcane.
Interesting. Is Raspy in the room with me?
Yeah, it's all basically just like one room at this point. Blind Jim has, when he entered, he shuffles over to a pile of cushions, plops down long ways, pulls out his purse, starts pouring out, counting his coins. That's the sound you hear as you walk over and you're like examining the bookshelves, because you kind of like beeline towards looking around.
Okay.
But you hear Blind Jim, you hear the clinking of money, and he's like, yeah, not bad at all. Raspy comes up next to you and he goes, oh yeah, admiring my collection?
I just wanted to ask Raspy if he was the one that was reading, or it had something to do with the arcane books.
What if what I'm reading, bro?
Do you practice this stuff?
And he looks around and he makes a gesture towards like the wall, and you see a small, like, gloved hand reach out against the wall, and it pulls one out from the bookshelf, and it floats over towards him, and he doesn't even like lift up his arms. This spectral hand opens up the book. The page it opens to is like a really intricate illustration, and it's on both pages. my first urge is to have it be super inappropriate.
I was pretty sure that you were gonna do something like that.
Yeah, in fact, it's like a surgeon's encyclopedia, and he opens it up, and it's basically just like an anatomical like boob structure, and he's like, "Hey, it's not bad, huh?"
But I mean, seeing as Deliadese would probably have seen those kind of things very often in his youth in Crete, because they were all wearing robes back in that day anyways. I don't think that he would be embarrassed by it, but I would probably take Raspy a little bit less seriously. And then I would ask him how he managed to pull the book from across the room without actually going over there and getting it.
He kind of looks at you blankly, and he's like, "Bro, that's basic bitch magic shit." And you hear Blind Jim from the other side of the room, where he's like counting. He's like, "Hey, don't be too hard on the kid. He's new here. A look of realization kind of goes over his face, and he goes, "Oh, whoa, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, no, it's magic.
That's incredible. Is it hard to learn?
Let me show you what I got." Like shoots his hands like out and up to the side. There's like a shower of sparks that comes out of his fingertips, and then a orb forms of many different colors, and the colors sort of morph around like mesmerizingly, and then it vanishes, and he looks at you with a big grin on his face.
So you're just kind of showing off?
Yeah, that's the impression you get.
It doesn't feel very practical to me that he just like shoots sparks around a little bit. I'd ask him what else he can do.
He looks uncomfortable.
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, yeah. Well, anyway, you should look around the books, man. They're pretty cool.
Okay, Raspy, thank you. What was Blind Jim talking about when he mentioned work?
Oh, Raspy kind of rolls his eyes. I don't know. I think Jim's on a wild goose chase on this one.
Wild goose chase for what?
Jim says, "All right, kid, come on over here," and he like taps one of the cushions on the floor.
I go and sit next to him.
Like his cane is down on the ground in front of him. He's leaning on his side, and he's stroking his chin. "You ever lost something really important?"
No.
He looks at you and he goes, "Oh yeah, it's nice to be young." And he lifts his cloak aside. He lifts up the stump of an arm. The whole time that he's been speaking to you, he's only ever used one hand for any of his gesturing, you now realize, as he reveals that on his left arm, it's missing from the elbow down.
Okay, I understand. But why would he be looking for the rest of his arm?
Because I'm really tired of having to wipe my ass with the same hand that I'm eating with. You know how old that gets, kid?
I can imagine. But what is it that you're looking for exactly?
He looks at you and he grins, and I should say he's been keeping his cloak down over his eyes so that he's not just like staring at you with bare sockets. Listen, this is a really long story, but I really am meaning to get my eyes back. My eyes is the real goal, kid. But the thing is, I'm gonna need both my hands to do that. And unfortunately, due to a little endeavor I had a couple of months ago, helping some brainless kids and an old man, I lose my goddamn arm, alright? And that puts a bit of a wrench in the works for me, right? So, I think of my old friend, Raspy. You know anything interesting about Raspy? And he looks over at Raspy, who, as you look over, he's kind of like absent-mindedly, he pulls a book off of the shelf, and he's just kind of blearily looking down.
I know Raspy can work magic, but I don't think he can work magic to bring your arm back.
He waves his one hand in front of you, and he leans forward kind of quietly, and he's like, "Listen, he's not really a good magician, okay? I don't want to blow anything for you, but he's not that impressive, okay? I'm here for the books, and also because he basically lets me sleep on the floor here, and I don't have to pay for it."
I guess that's fair.
He's purple. Have you noticed that he's purple? Have you ever seen a purple person before? I mean,
because so many things are new to me here, there's nothing really surprising me at the moment. But I did know notice he was purple.
He's got a little bit of genie blood in him, basically.
Genie blood?
Yeah. You kind of look back over at Raspy, and he like is walking like over towards his chair that's like by his desk, and as he's walking over it seems like a small little whirlwind of air basically spins around. It opens up a couple of books, and the pages flutter around the foot of his chair as it spins around, and he just sits down in it. And Jim says, "Yeah, I think his great-great-grandfather was a Djinn of the Wind."
That's incredible.
Yeah. And Jim is kind of aggressively rubbing his chin, and he's like, "And what do you know about genies, kid?"
The only thing I've ever heard about genies is that you can use them to make a wish, but it doesn't always work out in your favor.
He goes, "Don't worry about that part, kid. Remember, hey, look what happened to you. I took a real long shot on you. Look where we're at now. It's great. I have an extra set of hands, and you can help me get this wish happening, and I can get my arm back."
So we're going to use Raspy to get your arm back?
See, I've already done the hard work for that part. He reaches underneath the cushion that he's laying on, and he pulls out a parchment, and it seems to be a copy of a map. It looks like hand drawn with some basic landmarks. In Raspy's extensive collection, I have managed to find this, and he points to one spot that is written in a script that you can't understand. Now, if I am correct, this is the resting place of a genie.
And we want to go find this genie.
Oh, yeah. I want to get one thing straight, though. The wishes are mine, okay?
That seems fair. I have my freedom to thank you for, so I can pay you back my wishes. I don't seem to have a problem with that.
But, that being said, I'm not exactly in a hurry. I don't know how I'm gonna do in the desert. It's been a long time since I've had to be in a desert. So I think we have some time to get our affairs in order.
That's perfect.
Go do your thing, try and get some scratch. Oh, and he says, "You're not my charity case, but you are gonna be my employee." And he takes out 15 gold coins. He puts it back into his pouch, and he throws it to you.
Huh, wonderful. I appreciate the gesture.
Yeah, go take care of yourself. You're not my slave, so I don't want you looking like one.
I would ask if there was a place that I could clean up in this house, or if I need to go somewhere else.
And Jim goes, "I wouldn't go looking for amenities, kid. Like I said, he's not exactly human. He doesn't need some things like you or I do."
Before I go, I want to ask Jim if he really did know Brulo.
Jim is kind of quiet for a minute, except there's a few clanking of coins, playing with one stack of them. It's probably not too late to go see about making sure he gets a good burial. And he flips you another couple coins. Maybe take care of him, and we'll talk.
Okay. Then I get up, brush myself off, and walk back outside, thanking Jim on the way out.
Yeah. Raspy seems totally engrossed in his book.
Yes, Raspy the perverted half genie. I don't really care what he has to say right now. Okay, so I'm outside the house. What's around me? I feel like it's a dangerous place to just go around walking around like a tourist and being like, "Hey, can you tell me where the next bathhouse is?" You know what I mean? Like, I get the feeling I'm gonna be walking around and like if I ask somebody, it's gonna be like, yeah, no, I'll tell you where that is for 5 gold pieces. But no,
Yeah.
it's great.
Go ahead and roll an investigation.
15.
Okay, that's not bad. You kind of walk back towards that area where you were seeing some bizarre stalls, and you see a woman who's like carrying an urn of water overhead. And you stop and ask her, turning to like walk down one of the alleys. She doesn't really speak too long, but she points you down the street to a location, and you go there. And we don't need to RP a bathhouse scene.
No.
But needless to say, and it's not expensive either.
Yeah, so I am now at the bathhouse and I washed myself off. And I unfortunately have to put on my slave clothes again.
Yeah.
They have robes there or something?
So yeah, you feel great though. This is the most like refreshing experience you've had, in so long, dude. It makes you feel like a human again. And then, like you say, as soon as you like look over at like the clothes rack and you just see your rags, you're just like, oh god damn it.
Is there a person I can speak to like if there's clothes there, like if I can get a new robe, like a Greek robe to cover myself with?
Yeah, and when you come out, like the receptionist looks at you. Oh my goodness, I didn't even recognize you. You're like a new person.
After an entire year and a few months of nothing but mud and grime and gruel, I can imagine that I didn't even look close to the same.
Yeah, and she nods her head and gestures to like one of the servants there and is like, bring him a robe, something from the lost and found. And she looks at you and she goes, you're an honest gentleman, it seems, and we don't have many of your kind come through here. They bring out a very simple robe. This one at least has like it's like a belted garment, so you could gird yourself. Yeah, if you put a silver piece on the counter, she winks at you and she says, "Come by anytime."
I'm just joking. But yeah,
There's old Jeffrey's food cart, and she goes, that's fast and easy." And she goes, "But if you go to the tavern down the street some ways, you're sure to find some hot food there. If you really are flush, though, Roderick's shop has a lot of good general goods."
is there anything else you can tell me?
She thinks about it. She goes, "Well, there's a notice board. There's always someone looking for work. If you really need some more coin."
I would definitely do that.
Yeah. She tells you that the notice board is in the center like square of the marketplace. She says Roderick's isn't far from the market anyway, so I'm sure you'll see it.
Thank you much. Appreciate that. And then be on my way. I would leave.
Okay, and so you do. As you are begin like walking the streets, and you start making your way towards the marketplace, a figure kind of bumps his shoulder into you. "Hey, you're not smelling half so bad as the last time I saw you." A human figure in black leather armor has a cutlass down at his belt, and you recognize this guy as one of the crew members of Chaucer's ship.
Oh.
He's one of the guys that would come by and just like give you some slop when you were like down in the hold.
Mm-hmm. like being, I would probably be upset with him, like a little bit like a glaring kind of thing, you know?
Hey, listen. Chaucer wants to talk to you.
Chaucer wants to talk to me. I thought our business was concluded.
Your old business was concluded, but maybe there's still some money to be made, huh?
Well, something about just receiving my freedom makes me not want to walk right back to the guy who's enslaved me in the first place.
Like Chaucer said, it was just business. Everybody's been hosed a time or two, right? Besides, it'll probably be for your health,
Where is Chaucer, and what does he want me to meet it?
at the fight den. And the guy just still has his hands up. He's grinning at you as he's like backing away, and he goes, "Just think about it for your health." And he turns his back to you, and he walks away and kind of begins making for one of the alleys in the street.
Okay. Then the next thing is I'm gonna go to a general goods store to see if I could use like armor or like some simple weapons.
Yeah, if you're walking by, you see different stalls. There's people that are selling like meat on a stick. You see there's like beef and chicken. There's like almost like hero looking type food, that kind of thing. And if you want to just stop and like get something from there, it'll cost you a couple silver pieces.
Yeah, absolutely.
You feel a lot more welcomed as you're walking through the marketplace now that you're not in rags and filthy. People that were just like totally ignoring you before, like now the stall vendors are like, "Hey, come here, sir. I have carpet for you. Please stop, take a look."
Character you meet to sell me lamps and a carpet.
And sure enough, you see a lot more activity here, but it seems like a lot of the slave trade has left the marketplace. Platforms are kind of empty at this time of day, but there's still people that are going into the shops. And sure enough, you see one with a large like green sign over the door. You see a figure with a much darker purple skin than you saw with Raspy. And the figure has actually like two curling ram's horns, and he has yellow eyes. He sits behind the countertop wearing pretty well-fit clothing. Elbows on the counter and his fingertips kind of steepled. And as you come inside, he says, "Welcome, valued customer." As you look inside, the shelving and stuff is all pretty simple. On one side of the shop, shelves of general goods, some bags of feed leading against the counter, jars that seem to be full of some herbs, tobacco on one shelf, coiled ropes, backpacks of different kinds, lanterns. And then on the other side, there's other kinds of displays. You see that there's a set of plate armor on a stand, and there's one next to it that is also like a plate armor. The metal is much brighter. It seems thinner also, with some filigree around the edges. There's displays of swords. You see that there's a saber, a dagger, a rapier. There's a cleaver. Then there's a display for like pole arms and axes, spears, that kind of thing. Behind the shop counter, you see that there's more shelves that are kind of like going back down a hallway. But behind the counter, you see lots of other odds and ends, vials filled with strange colored liquids and potions. And as you're like kind of taking in, the shop and looking around, you see you won't find a better selection. I'll tell you that as much. Can I ask what you're looking for?
Armor, like a more like a leather armor, or I had seen somebody wearing it earlier, the desert colored armor.
Not just passing through, plan on going into the desert.
I feel like I should be prepared for the land that's around me.
He nods his head and he says, well, you could have come at a worse time. The desert is currently flooded right now, which makes it a good deal more survivable, though it still has plenty of its own threats out there. I know just the colors that you're speaking of. And kind of like disappears from your sight a little bit. Is there anything else you were thinking of that you'd be interested in?
Yep. I went through the rules, and it was like, yeah, typically you start off with a backpack and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Eventually, Roderick comes back from the back hallway, and he's carrying a set of belted leather armor. It's not heavy dyed black, like say you saw on the man of the pirate crew. Kind of a lighter brown. There's some like rawhide patches in it. There's also several folds of tan fabric material in part of like the patch weave and in folds around the leather, giving it a sort of like camouflaged aspect.
Awesome.
It's not a like perfect tailored fit. It's a little loose in a few places, but it fits you pretty well. For those leathers, 10 gold pieces.
Damn. Okay.
He'll take the gold. Was there anything else that you were looking at, sir?
The Explorer pack. And how much is that?
I'll take 5 gold pieces.
How many?
5.
Oh, 5 gold pieces. Okay, I'll pay him that. I'll pay that.
He smiles and takes the pack out. Well, I really appreciate the business, so why don't I throw these in? And he reaches underneath the counter and he pulls out 2 small vials of red liquid. Best of luck in the desert, dear boy.
I would ask him what's in the vials. I'm guessing it's a health potion or something, but I still want to ask him what it is.
Yeah, he tells you as much. He says, they're health potions.
Oh. Well, thank you, Roderick. This is obviously why you were the one that I was recommended to come to.
Yeah, well, just don't try and rob me or mess up my store.
It's kind of sad that that's what he thinks I want to do.
Just kind of looks at you blankly and he says, have you seen this town?
Yes, I understand why you have these feelings, but you should know that I appreciate a good businessman, and I'm glad that we can do good business together. And then I would ask him if he has any, monk weapons in general.
Mm-hmm. When you mention monk weapons, he pulls aside a bamboo kind of a window. He pulls it aside behind the counter, and it reveals another compartment where you see a dope-ass chain whip, several throwing stars. Well, I don't get to show these off too often. I don't think you can afford them. Yeah, I got a supplier who can find that obscure shit. But he looks around and he goes over in the corner there, and you see it in the display of pole arms and spears. There's a couple of staves of different heights. There's also a boken that's on the display.
No, I know what a boken is. That's cool. Yeah, I would ask him how much does he want for the... Is it called a quarterstaff? The one that's not as tall as a person? Yeah, I asked him how much he wants for that.
The quarterstaff, 5 silver.
Okay, then I'll take it.
Your pocket is feeling considerably lighter. If you conclude your business with Roderick, yeah, you stride out of the store easy enough with a pack on your shoulders and a staff in your hand. It's been a couple hours, you know.
All right, cool. Because my next stop is going to be the slave den. I'm gonna go talk to Chaucer.
From here, you see that the crowd is considerably diminished since you were here earlier. There's still like kind of some people milling around. Some of the gamblers there that are still hanging out in the stands. You see there's a few card games going on. There's patrons that are like drinking up against a bar. Sure enough, kind of at the corner of the bar, you see Chaucer and the dwarf ringleader that you saw earlier.
Okay. Then I would walk up to them. I heard he wanted to speak with me.
Yeah, as you approach, Chaucer's reptilian eyes widen and they kind of spin around a little. And he gestures his arms widely and he goes, "Ah, freedom is treating you well, I see."
And I would say, it has its perks.
And you see that he's kind of like wringing his hands a little bit. And yeah, that it does. That it does. I think I could use you in my crew potentially.
And then I would tell him, been on your ship before, and that's not a place I want to go back to.
You don't ever have to go below deck again. Trust me, that's all in the past. Anyway, you shouldn't be thinking about the past when we should be thinking about the future. And he kind of like looks around and he reaches his hand inside his jacket and he produces the platinum coin that Jim paid him. And he goes, "You have any idea where the old man got this?"
I would say, look, Chaucer, before we get into any more business, there's only one reason I came.
All right. And he puts the coin back in, and he says, "Let's hear it."
What did you do with Brulo?
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about something serious. He looks to the dwarf, who's been kind of patiently leaning against the bar, kind of like talking to the woman behind the counter. And Chaucer goes, "Uldan, where are you putting the bodies?" Uldan kind of disinterested and says, "Oh yeah, they're still out back." And he just kind of gestures down the corridor that.
Then I would ask, is there a way that I can get in there without running into trouble? Because I want to get my friend back.
Old Don goes, "Oh, it looks like we got a big soft." He ushers over one of the guards that are kind of standing around the entrance. And he says, "Look, as far as I'm concerned, that body down there is my property. So if you want him, you're going to have to talk to me." And Old Don kind of leans forward off of the bar.
And I would say, what's that one body to you? You have plenty down there.
Yeah, and he goes, "Yeah, but there's no demand for those other bodies. So, 2 gold pieces."
And I would say, listen, I understand that scum like you don't understand this kind of thing, but that person down there meant something to me, and you're going to let me have him.
Old Don just kind of like looks at you beady-eyed. "Look, I saw you in the ring. You're a tough guy, right? We both know that. What's the point of you getting all pissed off and sad because your pussy friend died down there? Or
Or what?
Maybe you come back in the ring, you do maybe put on another show for me, we both get a bunch of money. Then fair enough, I give you your friend.
Who would I be fighting?
Exchanges a quick glance with Chaucer. He's a big old boy. I don't know. He just came in off that ship, Chaucer. What's the name? The captain's that Ugand. Yes, the Sumerian.
The Sumerian.
Old Don goes, yeah, the Sumerian. Yeah, he's who you're gonna fight.
When?
Old Don kind of clasps his hands together and he goes, "Oh, so you'll do it, huh?"
I'll do it if you promise me that I get my friend back, and you don't go back on your word that we will both make tons of money. What kind of percentage are we talking about?
I've never been too good at math, but trust me, you're gonna get some gold.
Some gold, huh?
Yeah, and listen, how about you put together a show, huh? How about you fill those stands full of seats, huh? I'm trying to run a business here.
What do you expect me to walk the streets and get everybody to come to my fight that I don't even know when it's planned?
No. You let me worry about that, and you let me worry about the gold, okay? You're gonna get paid.
Yeah, but I expect that when I put on a show for you, that I'll be handsomely rewarded for it. You've only seen a portion of what I can do.
Roll a persuasion.
Oh, okay. I got a 20 and then a 15. It's probably going to be like a 2. 9.
Oof. He looks over at you, and then he looks back over to the guard. He seems to lose interest in you, and he looks back over to the guard that he called over. Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead with the, put them all in a mass grave and, burn them at the end of the night. Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and keep on with that plan.
I tell him to wait. And if he doesn't believe me and take my word for it, then I'll just have to show him in the ring. And tell me when.
Yeah, come by tonight, when people are drinking.
Okay, I'll be there. Then I would leave.
So as you're walking away, you hear Old Don talking to Chaucer, and see, you gotta learn how to talk to these guys. They'll always do what you want, you just gotta know where to put the pressure.
I knew I wasn't gonna like that dwarf. Okay, at this point, I probably just would go back to Blind Jim's house.
When you come back in, Blind Jim just goes like, "Oh God, you smell like you smell like a woman. What's going on?"
Yeah, I indulged myself just once.
Who am I to judge? Like picking at his toenails and like between his toes.
Then I would tell him about what I have to do to get Brulo's body back.
Yeah, I guess they're more stubborn bastards than I thought. So, are you gonna do the fight?
I am. I figure if we're gonna go in search of your arm and your eyes, could use the prize money. On the other side of things, I can give Brulo the burial he deserves.
And best of all, I get to gamble.
I thought you might like that, Blind Jim.
He's like, yeah, I think we're gonna get along all right.
Then I would go up to Raspy and say, "What about you, Raspy? Is there anything you want to talk about?"
I didn't even realize you left.
Well, that's good to know. Then I would ask him if he could teach me the basics, if he had time to teach me the basics of magic, because I have nothing left to do until tonight.
He looks around and he goes, well, I mean, I guess it really depends. I mean, there's only so many ways that one acquires magic.
And those ways would be?
stands up from his chair and like walks over. The spectral hand appears again and starts running its fingertip against the spines of the different books until it lands on one. Deftly, like, folds and flips the book out and open and brings it up to Raspy's face. And he begins perusing through it. The wizards or mages get their power. Why am I using that voice? Hold on. Well, like, if you're like me, bro, you pick up a lot of books and you spend a lot of time reading them. You pick up, the formula for basically the eddies of creation, bro. You gotta yoke yourself to that and ride it like a sick, gnarly wave.
I kind of love this guy. I have to admit, I kind of love him. Then I would ask him, what about the monks?
He goes, oh yeah, so monks. And he closes the book, and he turns to look at you while he's talking, and kind of you're looking over his shoulder, and the hand is running along the bookshelf while he's talking to you. And he goes, well, monks are a totally different story, man. So, they operate off of chi, which is like the life essence of their breath, which they channel through their bodies. But I mean, there's so many different, and with that, the hand returns, and it's with a really thick volume, and it's like a collection of monasteries from around the realm. A small gust of wind begins blowing through the pages, and you see pictures of different monasteries of architecture. You see some monks are summoning several different spectral limbs. You see one figure with so many arms that looks almost like Kali. You see another where there's a monk that's harnessing different elements that you see protrude coming out of his fists: earth, wind, and fire, that sort of deal. You see other monks that are training with all manner of bladed weaponry, and that one's kind of cool because the pages are flipping really fast, and it's almost like a flip animation.
Yeah.
Well, a guy with an enormous glaive, halberd, who's leaping through the air and spinning it around as though it were as light as a feather. And the pages keep going, and you see all the different paths and branches, monks of the shadow that flit through darkness and are totally unseen, deadly. It really seems to be on ultimately what kind of a tradition that they're following.
That's incredible. And I would ask him, can I learn about this from this book?
And the book shuts, and you hear Jim from the back, and he goes, well, it depends. Some traditions will require you to... Yeah, my voices are fucking degrading right now.
No worries.
It really depends. Some things you can intuit yourself when you know the way. As he's talking to you, he puts out his one hand, it's his two fingers, and begins to lean forward until he's just balancing in a crouched position, but with his legs in the air, just balancing on the two fingers. And then he begins to walk on his two fingers, and stretches out until he's doing a full handstand, and then he rolls over. I followed my own way, and I'd say I do pretty well.
What was your way?
He just smiles. It is both a journey of the body and also the spirit. Then he kind of rolls over, and he's like, look, I'm no teacher, all right? I don't do that shit.
Do you know where I could find one? A teacher?
He puts his hand on his chin and he says, "Oh yeah. I mean, there are many ways to learn, and many masters. I went on a journey once when I was trying to find my own way, and how I learned to see without seeing." And he kind of waves his hand in front of his eyes. He says, "If you go in search of a master, you're sure to find one way or another."
And I would turn back to Raspy and ask him if I could take a look at the book.
The Book of the Monks?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he pulls it from the shelf and he gives it to you.
Awesome. And I'm going to read in that until the later portions of the evening before I head out to the slave den again.
Okay, cool. You spend the rest of the evening kind of poring over the book and reading passages of different things. And we'll say that, I'll send you some more information about other other paths. And you can read about all of those. And now you can say, like, oh yeah, I read about this from Raspy's book,
Yeah.
That's really cool that you used that library to develop your character like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I figured it's there, and I don't want to just run around and try and talk to people, especially in this town, because it's not like I'm just going to be able to make tons of friends or something and start a rebellion. But it's really important to me that Brulo gets shown the respect that I feel like he deserves, even though I didn't know him that well. I really hope this goes well. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully everything goes great.
It's all a matter of the die.
You're looking through the chapter and you're just looking through one obscure class of monk, summoning the different, primordial animal spirits, in your combat. There's a bear, a leopard, a crane, that kind of stuff. You hear Blind Jim kind of clear his throat, and he goes, "I think it's just about time."
So I have to close the book and get up and then tell Blind Jim that he's my secret weapon. Because I'd tell him that, especially tonight, I don't have any plans of losing, and I need him to bet all that he has on me, which I'm sure he's already going to do, so that we can make the most profit out of this. And nobody needs to know that we're working together.
Just don't lose, all right? That's a really important part of this plan.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I'm most worried about.
Okay, here's the question. Have you ever lost a fight before?
No.
Yeah, you've never lost a single fight. Oh, good. Okay. Well, that makes me feel way better.
I mean, I'm sure he's lost a fight somewhere, but I'm not going to tell him now that I lost a fight.
Jim kind of looks at you and he's like, yeah, oh, so neither of us have anything to worry about, basically.
Yeah.
But you get the feeling like he knows that you're, it's like nobody's never lost,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you guys head back to the arena.
All right, cool.
As you approach, you hear some sounds from inside. It looks like things have picked back up again. You see that there's a couple of the slaves in the slave pens. When you come into the center, you see that there's two slaves down there, each with a knife, and they're going at it. They both look like pretty tired. They're both bleeding a bit, but that's the action that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
As you come in, you see Chaucer kind of back over by the bar once again with Uldon.
Okay. Then I would probably tell Blind Jim to go make his bet so that we don't walk over there together.
Well, yeah, I'll place my bets already.
He's way too excited about this. And then I would go over to Chaucer and is it Old Dawn or is it Uldan? Like a name, like one name.
It's one name, Uldan.
Okay. Then I would go over and talk to them and ask them where I need to I don't know, sign in, where I need to go like to get into the ring, you know?
And Uldan is like, see, there was nothing to worry about. I knew he'd show up. Chaucer's like, I don't know. If this one will prove easy to work with just yet. And Uldan says, and there's your opponent, the Cimmerian. Follow his gaze, and over by the, like right at the railing of the fighting pit, you see a huge, stacked dude over the side of the pit. And it looks like he's just totally fixated on the fight down below.
Awesome. Can I run a like a perception check?
Absolutely, you can.
Awesome. All right, cool. Like on this guy, right? 12 and
You're looking over. He's partially obscured because he's like on the other side of the fighting pit. Looking over at him, he does not seem to be wearing any armor. Like many of the people here, like maybe spent a lot of time out at sea, is still super sun leathered from that.
And I would say, man, it seems like some slave traders treat their slaves better than others.
And he goes, "Oh, that's no slave. He's here for fun."
Oh, then I understood it wrong earlier.
They just came off the docks.
Then I would ask, what's his story?
He comes through every couple of years. Same with the rest of the crew. They're pretty notorious, I'd say, at this point. At least they've done a couple pretty big jobs this last year, anyway.
So they're pirates.
Something like that.
Okay. Interesting. Then I would ask, when do we fight?
Soon. Hold on. He steps up on top of his stool so that he's tall enough to like see down into the pit, and he kind of he looks down at the knife fight that's going on in there. And one of the slaves has taken a pretty like deep cut kind of across his sternum. Old Don says, "Yeah, this should be over soon enough." As you begin to look up from the slave pits, you see the Cimmerian is looking over at you, and now he's like standing totally up straight, no longer leaning over the railing. I'd like you to make a willpower save. Feel like a chilling presence kind of like emanating from him. You get the feeling that he's trying to intimidate you right now.
Okay.
And you're like, damn, it's a huge dude. But it doesn't really shake you. You save.
Awesome.
Looking over at the Cimmerian, you see a figure kind of like over his shoulder by the booths, and it's Jim. And he's like looking at you and looking at the Cimmerian, and he looks back over at you and he gives you like a big thumbs up.
Don't worry, you got this. Go for the knee. Sweep the leg.
With that, after a little while, the knife fighter like collapses, and the slave, when he sees the other dude like go down to his knees, he drops his knife and just like walks out of the ring back towards the prisoners' cages. He's not going to execute the slave.
Okay.
And the guards come down and they take out they drag out the injured slave. And Uldan looks at you and goes, so you're not really a no-name slave anymore. What do I call you?
You seen the movie with Russell Crowe where he's like, My name is Gladiator.
Yeah. Do you say your name is Gladiator?
Yeah, you know
I
what?
know.
You know what? Why not? Freaking, they don't need to know my real name. Like, you can call me a gladiator.
He just kind of shrugs his shoulders and he motions for you to go over to like the steps that lead down into the fight pit.
Okay.
The Sumerian goes to the other side, and Uldan looks at the crowd and goes, "And if you did not think that the show we had for you this morning was not great enough and enough of a surprise, it looks like we have a treat. A returning fighter, 2 years absent, and back from a successful pillage of the Gold Coast." And he brings his hand up. The Sumerian. The Sumerian begins like hulking down the steps, and he's like waving at like a couple of people. Once he gets down into the pit, he just like gets into like a very deep squat and is like resting one hand on his quad in a balled up fist, and his other elbow is like leaning up against it, and he's just like in a deep squat as Uldan says, and star attraction from this morning, killer of Hildebrand, knew with his freedom he just couldn't get enough action. He's back again. Well, welcome back, the Gladiator. And he brings his hand up towards you.
Then I would walk into the ring and not take up a fighting stance necessarily, just kind of like walk into the ring and stand there, ready.
Okay. All right. The fight is about to begin. He looks down at you guys. He throws down like a red rag and calls it to start. All right.
Oh,
And now we are going to roll initiative.
18?
Oh, damn. Nice roll. Oh, yeah. You have the initiative. As soon as it hits the sand of the pit, you're ready to go.
All right, cool. First thing, oh man, I don't know. Like now I'm here, and the first thing I want to do is sprint directly at him and do the move that Brulo always did against me, because I know I'm capable of jumping high, like higher than before. I want to sprint at him and do the jumping somersault with the staff in my hand and bring the staff down at his head.
Okay.
22. 1d8 unarmed strike.
Yeah.
6.
6. And you add your strength to the damage, which is a +3, so 9 damage. Hell yeah, dude.
Damn. I was not expecting that.
Come out swinging, like rush forward with your quarterstaff. You leap into the air and do that somersault, which would aggravate you so often fighting Brulo. And you bring the staff down in a double-handed strike, cracking him right on the top of the head, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, pretty much.
And the crowd goes crazy. The Sumerian, his hands come to like the top of his head and he's clutching at it and he's like, and he's grunting. He looks at you and there's like a bit of like blood kind of running down one stream over his face. A rage like take over him. Hands are just like clenched out in front of him and he roars at you and rushes forward.
Where did I land, by the way? Did I land in front of him or behind him?
It would be behind him, as that's what Brulo always did.
Okay, that's what I thought. But okay, now he's rushing at me. So,
Yeah, and he's going to roll.
do I still have an attack? Because, like, I had the initiative and I hit him.
Unarmed strike, yeah, that's right. With your level of monk, good catch.
2.
Yeah.
It had to come at some point.
you try and like do an unarmed strike against him while his back is turned, but he turns around before he does his bestial roar.
Okay, I get it. Okay. So he's still rushing me.
For his first attack. That
Ooh.
definitely hits you. That doesn't even have his bonus on it. That's just the flat roll.
Whatever this is gonna hurt.
7 damage.
7 damage.
Yeah, and so he, after roaring, he's rushing towards you, and he balls up both of his, he clenches both of his fists together in a hammer fist, and he just swings it against your face. It hits you pretty hard.
I want to attack his eyes.
Okay.
I could knock out one of his eyes with the staff.
You could. You could also try doing the Dale Gribble, try and scoop up some sand and pocket sand. Ha ha ha!
Pocket sand. Eat that. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go attack his eyes with my staff.
Okay, roll to hit.
13.
Because you're proficient with the staff, you add your God damn it.
Oh, so 15.
And that is also a hit. Roll once more for your unarmed strike if you want to do that.
Okay. 17.
Nice. Okay.
Damn.
So roll.
First the D6, 4, and the 8, 5.
Okay, and you're adding your strength to both of those, so that's still quite a bit. So 15 points of damage. And it's a pretty devastating attack. And you can, but you see how hard you're hitting him, and you see his his left eye. You definitely tore off the eyelid part over his left eye. His eyes are blood red. It seems like he's really been taken over into some kind of blood fervor, because it doesn't seem to dissuade him too much. And he's going to try and wrap his hands around your throat.
Oh. Going for the grapple.
Yeah, make a strength saving throw.
14 to 24.
Okay, it's going to be up to 14.
It's gonna what?
Yeah, the second number only matters if you have advantage. Otherwise, you only look at the first one.
Yeah, so it's 14.
Unfortunately, yeah, you just you do not succeed. He beats you by 1 point. Yeah, he reaches out and he wraps his hands around your throat, and he begins to squeeze.
Okay. And I don't have any sharp things to get him off of me. And the blunt force is not doing anything. I'm in a bind.
Oof. You rolled max damage. Take 9 points of damage.
4 points left.
This is a good point for you to look at your character sheet and look at your fighter ability, Second Wind.
Yeah.
So you can make your attack this turn, but instead of doing an unarmed strike, you can make your attack and then use your bonus action to regain 1d10 of hit points on this turn.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So you want to roll your health points first? That's going to be rolling a 1d10.
A 1d10?
Yeah.
1d10.
Oh!
Insane.
Nice. So that's 1d10 plus your fighter level, so you get 11 hit points back.
Awesome. I need that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 15. Okay.
Yeah. You're starting to feel the light of your eyes starting to grow dim. his enormous hands and strict it around your neck. Dig down deep into your reserves and your training in your instinct, and you squeeze like to the side, and it's just enough to like get a gulp of air, and you feel vitality rush back into you. It is your you still have your attack to make.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm gonna go for his eyes again, and like go with both thumbs.
Ooh, sorry, bud. You're actually going to need to make a strength saving throw to escape him because he's grappling you right now.
Oh, okay. So, strength saving throw. 14. Again.
Oh yeah, sorry, bud.
Didn't get out.
You did not get out. But let's take a look because you do have the grappler feature, and I don't know if that gives you advantage on anything.
You have advantage on attack rolls against the creature you are grappled. Doesn't that mean I have to, when I have the advantage on them?
Okay, it was worth checking. Okay, yeah, unfortunately, my dude, you do not escape. And he's going to...
Oh, that's also high.
That's going to be actually 8 points of damage with his strength.
Yeah, 7 left.
I was like, you know what? It's pretty rough when you're going up against a grappler because a grappler can just grab you and kill you. And I was like,
What if I make my own?
yeah, exactly. Okay.
So another strength save?
Yes.
Oh, come on, dude. Give me something. Give me
Let's see.
something. I gotta get out of this.
Ooh,
25!
Yeah, natural 20, dude. And with that, not only like do you break his stranglehold, but you immediately like revert back to your own wrestling training, and you shoot for his legs, just like pulling him back over your back, and he goes prone on the ground. So when you make your attack, your first attack will have advantage.
Okay. Oh man, I don't even know what to do to this guy. I've hurt him hard, but it's not doing anything to him.
Yeah, he's raging.
Am I capable of doing a flurry of blows? Is that a thing? Or is that,
No.
does that only...
You need to get to level 2 of Monk to get the flurry of blows.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's what it was.
It's a super dope Monk ability, but you gotta hit that level 2.
Yeah, I knew there was something, but I remember it being a thing. Okay, then I will attack twice again. The swipe of my staff and the freaking roundhouse kick to the face.
So that's 2 d20s, my dude.
Okay. 28. Did I just do it again?
Yep.
12.
So you barely just hit it with advantage. Okay, so now go ahead and roll one more for your second attack.
20? 10.
Yeah, that one doesn't. So the roundhouse kick misses, but go ahead and roll your damage for the first hit. So that'll be 1d8.
8.
Oh! Okay. How do you want to finish him?
Is he seriously dead? Did I just barely make it out of this?
Yes.
Oh, man.
It's an unarmed strike, you know. So it can be potentially non-lethal if you so desire.
Okay.
But that's what I'm saying, you know. You can describe your killing blow or how you do it.
Oh, man, I was so nervous, dude.
You got close, dude.
I was like 2 fights. That's all Deliadese has to his name. This is it, right here.
Yeah.
So because I promised that I was gonna put on a show, and I see that he's now reeling, and I know that I need to put him down, I do an absolutely freaking beautiful tornado kick to his temple and knock him out. I don't want to kill him.
Nice. He's like roaring. He starts to like get up, just screaming all the while. Starts to stand up just in time to meet your heel to the side of his temple, and the screaming stops, and he just crumples to the side, unconscious.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and there's another big cheer from the crowds.
And then guess this time I would like look to the crowds and like egg them on, like raise my hands and like shout with them.
Go ahead and give me a performance.
Oh, that's what that means. Okay. 4.
Yeah. You try and like get him like clapping or something, and then but it just like doesn't work. So it's one of those like awkward claps.
Yeah.
You know?
Where it's just me being weird and everybody else is just excited.
Yeah. And you see some people are really excited, and other people are like pulling their hair out as they've lost like a bet. Yeah, as you like begin to step out of the ring, you see Chaucer and Uldan standing like expectantly with pleased looks on their faces. At least as far as Uldan is concerned, Chaucer. The only time he looks like he's grinning is when he's baring all of his teeth. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's very unfair. Uldan gestures to the filled stands. I'm not lying when I tell you that this is one of the best business days that I've had in a long time.
Promised you a good fight. I delivered on my end.
Uldan nods his head in respect, and he leans over and whispers into the ear of one of the men at the bar, and then he turns around and gestures for to like one of the women behind the bar and goes, "Yeah, get him a rag to clean up his face. He's all bloody and shit." The man that he whispered to gets off and walks away. It looks like he's going down to that disposal area. Yeah, don't worry. You're gonna see some of the money from this. I'll keep my word about your buddy too.
It was a pleasure doing business with you.
Yeah, he nods his head, and yeah, he goes, yeah, well, business is business, you know. The woman comes back with like a fresh towel. It looks like it's like, yeah, freshly laundered, you know, and she hands it over to you. And when you take the bundle to like to wipe some of the sweat and blood from your face, you see that there's a hefty bag of coin in the folds of the towel.
Oh, wonderful. I would take that and place it on my belt or in my bag or however that works.
Yeah, and Uldan says, "Yeah, you know, a relationship like yours and mine, you know, what happens in the ring is all that matters. Everything else is just business." And he goes, "Yeah, you know, don't be a stranger. You know, I'm sure I can find some more fights for you if you're so inclined." Chaucer
Oh,
kind of clears his throat. "I'm sure that Jim has made off pretty well tonight."
I would say, you know the old man. Can't let a bet go to save his life.
He hisses, "So it seems, so it seems." And he kind of looks at you and he goes, "I'll see you around." He's gonna slink off out of the arena.
Cool, man. Freaking slinking places.
Damn lizard people. Go ahead and add 40 gold to your inventory.
Ah, okay. Less than I expected, but I can definitely use that.
Sometimes you gotta try and haggle more. I know you tried at the beginning.
Yeah, at this point, like I was basically just I don't really want much more to do with like the slave traders and stuff. It's nice to know that I could come back here and maybe potentially make coin if I need it. But I don't really want to stay here. I only came back for Brulo.
As you're kind of are like looking into your the new pouch around your waist and estimating your winnings, you look down into the pit and you see the guard come out. He's dragging Brulo's body by the feet, and just kind of like dragging him through the sand. He gets into the ring proper, drags his body around the Cimmerian. He like just kind of drops the legs, puts his hands on his hips, and looks up out of the pit at you. Uldan, kind of waves him off, and he looks at you and he says, so are we good?
This concludes our business.
He nods and turns around and begins kind of talking to the bartender and to a couple of the people that are sitting around him.
I would want to then go down and like pick up Brew. I don't want to drag him places. Do I have to run like a strength check for that? See if I'm capable of carrying him.
You could roll in athletics.
Athletics. Okay, then I'll roll that one. Dude, no way.
Yeah,
Pick up
dude.
Brulo with one hand and like.
It's no issue, dude.
All right, then I would go pick up Brulo and take him outside and meet up with Jim, I guess.
As you reach down and pick up Brulo, you look down underneath the shifting of his tunic. You see just like the edges of what looks like some dark black ink against his chest. But then the tunic kind of shifts and obscures it some.
Like a tattoo?
Potentially.
Okay.
Yeah, and as you climb
Can I
out of the...
investigate that? Like...
Yeah, if you want to like put down Brulo here in the arena and like take a closer look,
Yeah.
you can.
Okay, I would do that real quick.
So you lay him back down against the sand. You lift up his shirt some, and you see that he has a tattoo that takes up the whole of his chest, which is of considerable size, and like down over his abdominals. And it is the face of a roaring bear with its jaws wide open.
Oh, interesting. There's probably something along the lines of the monks and the way that they summon animals.
You recognize that the tattoo looks similar to the illustrations that you were seeing in the book.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
And with that, you once again pick up your friend. You easily manage to take him up the stairs and out of the ring, where you find Blind Jim waiting for you. With a small grin, the tracings of a small, sad grin on his face, but with a perkiness in his step that you imagine is from his victory.
Yeah, you can't be too upset about the whole thing after just making it like a bandit, probably.
Yeah, I wasn't worried for a second. He was a big old boy, though, I tell you.
That makes one of us, old Jim.
Yeah, okay, well, if I'm being honest, when he was choking you, there was a second there,
Good to know that I wasn't alone. And then I would ask him, where would be a proper place that we could bury Brulo?
It's not a fancy place, but there is a chapel here to the God of the Sands. I think they do a service. There's always the tried and true funeral pyre.
Anything's better than being stuck with a bunch of other bodies and burned like garbage.
Amen to that. Well, we could take him by the shore. We'll maybe find some driftwood.
Let's do that.
So at this point, it's like deep into the night. It's like midnight basically. You come to the shore and it's pretty sandy coming all the way to the beach, but there are patches of flotsam and driftwood, and you easily enough spending an hour with Jim, you build a suitable funeral pyre, and you lay Brullo atop of it. As you are kind of standing there, looking at Brullo and looking at the ocean, the bright moonlight and the stars, and you hear the waves, Jim says, "He was one of the 5 animals. I saw them together only once, many years ago."
One of the 5 animals. Is that a is that a group of bandits?
He kind of chuckles and he said, "Well, it depends on who you asked. Some thought they were bandits, and to others they were more like folk heroes. They were from another land, one I traveled in my youth."
Is that what the bear tattoo signifies?
"Yes.
And what are the other?
There is the snake, the crane, the leopard, and the toad."
That's an interesting combination. I'm glad it wasn't like the original, like the normal ones where it's like, yeah, this one's the dragon and the serpent and the tiger and the the monkey.
Yeah, those schools are way more common.
Is it possible to find these people?
He's thoughtful for a second and he goes, "Yeah, they must be out there somewhere. Though." And he looks over at Brullo. "This lead is unfortunately gone cold."
I'd say, well, Jim, let's focus on getting your arm back first.
He nods and he goes over to the funeral pyre and he kind of rests his hand on Brullo's chest. "He was once very mighty and proud. I had heard that he had a family." And he's quiet for a moment. But no story ever really ends. He pats Brullo's chest and steps back, and he looks at you and says, "Well, you should do the honors."
I wanted to say, like, we could light it together, but then I was like, that's super corny. But you know what? Let's do it. Then I hand him. I have like torches or something, or like fire starters, right?
Yeah, you have a fire starter, and you also have 10 torches. You light the torches together, and you go to either end of the funeral pyre and burn the fire from both ends.